Hello, welcome to another briefing. In this briefing, I'm going to start out per usual with the satellite image. I usually try to do a broad brush on the western United States, but I am based in the Bay Area, so that's where I tend to focus. You can see the sun already up in most of Montana, Wyoming, most of Colorado here. You see some pop-up convective type clouds still firing off. There's a bit of quite a bit of lift in the atmosphere here, along with moisture. Um, you have some vorticity, essentially energy left over from passing weather system, and that's all you need. You need when you have moisture and you have instability, you have cold air aloft, you have the air parcels rising really quickly. And you just have that little kick. The lift is that little kick that the parcels need to get up to condensation level and form the thunderstorm clouds. So, and then what the main other thing we're noticing here, it's kind of hard to see on this image. I'm going to put a different kind of image here. Is the stratus, the coastal fog along the coast of California. In this image, you can see the higher thunderstorm clouds over in the Intermountain West here, and there's some high clouds over the Pacific Northwest, not really producing any rain at this moment. And there's a weather system way offshore here, and then you have this bank of low clouds, the typical summertime fog that forms off of the California coast, essentially because those waters are so cold and you have warmer, humid air moving over them, and that condenses, forms this big fog bank. Depending on the pattern and the winds, it can stretch pretty far inland at times from the coast. So take a look at the fog print in the Bay Area this morning. Pretty widespread fog print here. Um, and that's just like because we have a deeper marine layer, because we have a general troughing pattern aloft, which means lower pressure, which I'm going to try to not get too technical about. I know this is kind of a complex chart for most people, but I'm as someone that's familiar with meteorology, I can sort of explain. You have this kind of dip in the jet stream here. See where these lines are really close together? That's basically where your jet stream is, and that's separating the warmer air masses from the colder air masses. And so the storms, they move along this jet stream. It's like a river of air at high altitudes. And you can see here, there's this one, and then here's just a couple pieces of energy. These storms, they kind of break off. These cold fronts don't stay really organized in the summertime. Um, but you can see there's general troughing pattern. The lower heights here, these lower numbers, are associated with um, colder air columns. And so when you have this dip in the height lines like this, that's a trough, and that's a cooler pattern. And when you have this kind of cooler pattern, this kind of lower pressure in the air column, you have a deepening of the marine clouds. So um, that's what we're observing this morning. That's why we have such a deep marine layer, and so as a consequence, those marine clouds are able to push pretty far inland. Bay Area temperatures at the moment, um, mostly in the 50s. We've got some chilly onshore wind with those low clouds, as is pretty typical for this time of year. I'll just go back to the satellite so I can just show temperatures real quick in other areas. I know this is not the most ideal. it's really tiny plots. So I'll just zoom out on this. We'll just do that. We'll just do temperature here. And I'll just do a little brush here. Portland area 55, Seattle at 59. It's mostly 50s throughout the western United States. LA is at 61, 64 San Diego. The SoCal desert areas, Palm Springs and such, in the low 70s. You can see here about some of the highest peaks of the Rockies are down in the 30s and 40s, pretty typical. Salt Lake area around 70, Denver area around 60. So you get kind of a big picture there. Taking a look here. Let's go to the European model, computer model projection here for the upper air pattern over the next few days. So there's that trough I was just showing on the satellite. So just get an idea of what the weather should be like the next few days. Now with that troughing sort of lingering in today, maybe into tomorrow a little bit, do expect a deeper marine layer for the Bay Area, for instance. Do expect slower burn off or mixing out of those morning clouds. And possibly still pretty cloudy, maybe only partial clearing, if any clearing at some coastal locations because of that deeper marine layer, that stronger persistent onshore flow. And then as we move through here, you can see kind of turns like a more zonal, just straight west to east flow. Warms up a little bit for inland areas. You'll notice a bit of a warm up. You see that warmer air, those warmer air columns start to come in from the southwest here. However, it looks like the wind flow is going to remain out of the west, especially at the coast, and that's going to keep the cold Pacific air in place along the coastline. So coastline areas for the Bay Area, as is typical this time of year, likely staying in the 60s. Maybe some areas around 70 or so, depending on how much that wind eases in the late morning hours before it picks up again in the afternoon. So then you see after this weekend you get a little warm up. When you get that warm up, you start to see into next week a little bit of a troughing pattern again, and that would mean a little more wind, more clouds at the coast, the marine stratus, the fog would push a little further inland. And then it depends. I mean, this is one computer model looking a week out, almost a week out, so take it with a grain of salt. But this is a pretty good trough into the Pacific Northwest that could even bring, I think, some rain for them. And I mean, it might bring maybe a sprinkle for some in Northern California. Probably not much. Mostly clouds and a deeper marine layer, more marine influence, a little cooler for even inland areas. The passing trough, and then maybe another system, and then maybe it wants to bring this big ridge. But that's, I mean, when you're looking over a week out, 10 days out on a computer model, you got to be really cautious with what you're looking at, because it's just one run of one computer model way out in the future, and a lot can change. So that's all I have for today. I'll just leave it with that. I've been rambling for a while. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're able to get something out of it, and I'll see you next time.